Hello and welcome back to the channel. I wanted to talk today about Jerry Cantrell's new solo album, I Want Blood. Obviously, Jerry Cantrell is the creative force behind Alice in Chains. This is only his third solo record, as far as I can tell, with Degradation Trip 1 and 2 coming out in 2002, and then Brighton coming out in 2021. I will say for myself, I did not listen to Brighton. I listened to, I think, one of the tracks that he released ahead of time, and I wasn't really a big fan of it, so I decided not to check it out. But Degradation Trip Volumes 1 and 2, for me, are really influential, and probably on par with some of his Alice in Chains stuff, honestly. If you haven't heard that one, I would check it out. It's fucking fantastic. Everything about it is great. For both volumes, basically, right? But yeah, I noticed he was coming out with some singles. I have not listened to the singles, or I hadn't listened to the singles ahead of time. I kind of wanted to get the full experience for this one. So we'll start off with the track rundown. Starting off with track number 1, we got Vilified. I thought this one was a cool one. He used a nice like wah effect, or it might have been a talk box for the intro. I thought the vocal harmonies sounded really good on the verse. It did sort of have that Rainier Fog kind of chorus, but the breakdown bridge section I thought was really heavy and really cool. So I liked that one quite a bit. Second track was Off the Rails. I think it had an interesting melody phrase, but it maybe got repeated a little bit too much from the beginning. I wasn't super big on the way that he wrote the background sort of rhythms behind it. Not super big on those. I did like the bending notes in the chorus that follow the vocal line. It's a very Jerry Cantrell thing to do. And then we go into the guitar solo. And the guitar solo was okay. The sound of the guitar on that, it was a little iffy. I feel like I could hear the actual EQ curve itself, and like it sounded very subdued from what it could have been. So I didn't really like that part as much, but overall it was an okay song. The third track we got is Afterglow. Starts off with some keys, which is interesting. I thought the main melody was nice. It sounded good. His vocals on the verse sounded really good, and I really liked the way the bass sort of popped through during that section as well. The bridge section with the acoustic guitar I thought sounded really nice, and I liked that how it led into the solo quite a bit. Even if the solo was a little bit basic, I thought it was tasteful, and some nice emotions sort of throughout the song. It's a bit of a feeler. It's kind of cool. The fourth track. This one's called I Want Blood. It's the title track for the album. I didn't like it. I hated the guitar sound. I thought it was like a really shitty, radio-friendly, Nickelback-y kind of thing. I thought the I Want Blood vocal line, when he actually sings that part or sort of talks about it, I thought it sounded way off. It sounded really corny and really dumb. And then the chorus also sort of followed that radio-friendly kind of thing. It just sort of sounded like something that would be in the soundtrack for an EA Sports game. So it had that, that 2010s rock kind of thing, and I really didn't like it. Next track was Echoes of Laughter. Kind of liked this one. It starts off really bluesy. I thought the effect on the vocal was pretty cool, and some neat wordplay in the choruses. I just liked how it sounded. It's quite atmospheric. I liked the layering of the guitars on this one. It sounded really cool, really spacious, and the placement of the guitar solo was cool too. However, he does this weird, like, humming or like sort of chanting, singing kind of thing of the chorus line or the chorus melody at the end, and I thought that was off-putting. That was like a dumb way to end the song, so that kind of sucked. The next one is Throw Me a Line. This one we're getting quite bassy with the rhythm guitars. I thought maybe there could be a baritone tuning used on this one. Quite liked the harmonized main melody. I thought that was kind of interesting. Sounded almost like Death Clock-ish or something like that. I also really liked the layering during the bridge section that led into the solo, and the vocals sounded really good on this one. So I liked this one a little bit. So the next one's also another highlight, Let It Lie. It's a sort of a dark, moody song, and I think he sits really well in this kind of a vibe. This one's also quite detuned, also could have been a baritone. I thought the interactions between the vocals and the guitars and the verse sounded quite Alice in Chains on this one. The chorus was also kind of cool. I think it sort of followed a similar vibe. The solo section was like big 90s for me. I thought it sounded really good, and the wah pedal that he used on the solo I thought works really well in this context. Next up we got Held Your Tongue. This one starts off really awkward with the beginning vocal that leads into the instrumentation. I wasn't super big on the organ and keys working here. The vocals sounded good. I liked the intensity on the chorus, but I thought the bridge wasn't very good. That sort of "we belong together" kind of vocal line I thought was cheesy. The third verse without the organ actually kind of sounded not so good, so it's kind of weird that I didn't like it with the organ. I didn't really like it without, but they do that bridge thing twice, which kind of sucks. I thought it kind of ruined the second half of the song, and the solo was boring, and the guitar tone for it also kind of sucked, so it is what it is. All right, the last song on the album is It Comes. It's definitely the longest song on the record, but it's also a little bit of a boring ballad. It sort of has this Radiohead creep kind of descending arpeggio, which I didn't really like. That sort of I'm a creep ass intro kind of thing. Picks it up a little bit with the second half with a solo, but the rhythm guitar in this section kind of sucks too. And then right after that, it goes right back into that Radiohead creep thing. So not the greatest track for this one either. Overall, I thought the record was not bad, but also not that great. It's hard to dislike Jerry Cantrell's riffing style and his singing. He has an impressive way he writes that complements each other really well. But I also thought that there were some parts on this record that even he couldn't save. As far as standouts, I liked Vilified, and I thought Let It Lie were quite good. However, I Want Blood, Held Your Tongue, and It Comes were pretty much skippable for me. I thought the other tracks were fine and the sections were pretty good, but the guitar solos on the whole were a bit bland and not very creative. On the production side, I thought the bass and drums sounded quite good, but the production on the guitars in certain instances stripped away all life from the guitar. So it left it really sterile, and it left it really hard to listen to, and I think the only thing that saves that is how they layered it, right? And how he wrote it in certain parts, right? I thought his vocals sounded really good throughout the record, but sometimes his songwriting choices felt a little bit forced. For instance, the intro to Held Your Tongue, which we talked about, he does this vocal line in I Want Blood. He just kind of goes, I want blood. And I thought that was really dumb. And sort of that singing bit at the end of Echoes of Laughter I didn't really like either. As far as like examples go, you can take those, but there are other instances throughout the record where some choices he made felt a little bit forced. So for me, I came at this record with an expectation that's quite high. Not only that, but the comparison I have to make is towards Degradation Trip, right? That's his solo stuff. So it's him writing everything. It's him, being the final say, hopefully, in certain instances. But I thought this one was a bit of a miss. Not like the greatest record, not that bad, but also not what it could have been, perhaps. I think if you're a fan of Rainier Fog kind of Alice in Chains, you might appreciate this one more than I did. However, I will still give it a 6 out of 10. It's not that it was a bad listen, it's just not something that I would go back to on a regular basis or anything like that. But yeah, I've said all I need to say. Check out the record. We'll see you in the next one. Deuces.